Girl, get up and good morning. Today's podcast is going to be a little different from the daily affirmations. I want to talk about ego versus intuition. It's great to repeat positive words of affirmation in your daily life because that's what gets you to believe you deserve that happy, fulfilled life. But taking action is also important, and that's where knowing the difference between your ego and intuition will help guide you in the right direction for making decisions that will best lead you to where you want to go. So, ego and intuition are both inner voices that can influence the decisions you make. To define them, I'm going to list some things about each. Trust me on this process, and I think you'll get the idea. Your ego is loud, your intuition is quiet. Your ego is in front, your intuition follows behind. Your ego is what society sees, your intuition is what your heart sees. Your ego is what you were told to do. Your intuition is what you want to do. Your ego is the first idea that comes to mind, and your intuition is what you come up with after sitting in silence. Your ego is the easy way out. Your intuition is doing what's right. Your ego is driven by logic. Your intuition is driven by curiosity. Your ego can create feelings of criticism. Your intuition can create feelings of uplifting. Your ego can be the easy way out. Your intuition can be the scary thing to do. Your ego is filled with excitement. Your intuition is filled with anxiety or dread. So while I might have just described the ego to be negative, it's not. There is a time and place when the ego is really important. Sometimes you need to be loud and bold and use logic to solve a problem. And it's okay to take the easy way out sometimes. However, when manifesting and creating really big life decisions, it's important to listen to your intuition too. So here are some ways to bring your intuition to the forefront of our mind. The first is to be creative. I personally am not a super artsy person, but there are so many different ways to be creative. One of them is journaling. Something that I have found really fun recently is junk journaling. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's where you collect different things throughout your day or week. And then you just paste them in a notebook, but it's not in a scrapbook way where it looks really perfect. It's really in a messy way. And it could be anything from receipts, notes from friends, wristbands from an event, your coffee order, just things like that. And it's a way to be creative, but also let go of the perfection side of things. It's supposed to be messy. That's why it's called junk journaling. Another way is drawing. Like I said, I'm not a super artsy person, so I love a coloring book. I feel like it gets the same activity going for me. Trying a new class is another way to get creative. They can be really scary, but also really fun, and you never know what new hobby you could end up loving, as well as just going somewhere new. People often don't think of that as being creative, but you're going out of your normal routine, and I'm pretty sure that is the definition of being creative. So yes, being creative, that is one way. Bring the intuition to the forefront of your mind. Another way is to be still. So it can be really hard to just sit in silence with your thoughts. So much so that we almost always try to fill that silence with music or podcasts when we're alone. But being still is one of the most important things you can do when trying to listen to your intuition, because our egos are so loud. So to practice being still, you could try to go on a walk without podcast music or anything. Just walk in silence, listen to the birds, say hi to your neighbors, see what comes up. You could try to take a shower without music or podcast going. Just let your thoughts flow. You could also just sit down and take 5 deep breaths. I find after the first 5, I'm able to take a few more, and 5 to me is manageable. I think sitting down and meditating in a sense in complete silence is hard for a lot of people because it sounds overwhelming and how long am I going to do this for? But if I tell myself, I'm just going to take 5 breaths and then move on. Sometimes I take 5 and move on. Sometimes I'm like, that was nice. I'm going to sit here for a few more minutes as well. But yeah, being still can help bring out the intuition of that inner voice. Another way is to set boundaries. So if you're constantly considering others, you're listening to your ego, and it's really hard for your intuition to speak up. So you can start small with setting boundaries, and that would be something maybe just saying no to one activity a week, like a work happy hour or that dinner with friends, when you realize you are really burnt out and you need the rest, just say no once, take the time for yourself. And so another way to set boundaries is to practice saying no. No, thank you is a full sentence, and it doesn't need an explanation or a follow-up. Someone invites you to something, you don't want to go, but you're going because you feel like other people want you to go. Say, no, thank you, and do something for yourself instead. And once you start setting those boundaries, you'll find it a lot easier for your intuition to speak up. And the biggest way that I personally distinguish between my ego or intuition talking is to take society out of the picture. And what I mean by that is by asking myself, if I didn't care what my friends thought, what would I do in this situation? Or if money didn't matter, what would I do? Or if I had all the time in the world, what would I do? And by taking something out of the equation, and by something I mean my ego, my friends, my time, it truly helps me realize what I truly deeply want, what my intuition is telling me. So, for example, something that is personally going on in my life right now, quitting my job might be really scary. And society says you need a steady job to be happy. But my intuition says staying at home to raise my kid is what I need right now. I don't need money in the moment. I don't need stability in the moment. I need time with my kids. And so making that decision and letting my intuition make that decision instead of my ego can be really difficult, but also really important for my long-term happiness. Listening to your intuition can be really hard, and it takes a lot of practice. So you can start with small things like saying no to hanging out with your friends because you need to rest. And before you know it, you will use your intuition to create a happy, meaningful, and fulfilling life. So I hope you enjoyed this little spiel about ego versus intuition. Give it some thoughts, and let me know in the comments when you are using your ego versus intuition. And as always, say it with me, I'm going to have a good day. Bye. That's all for today. Go create the day that you want, and remember, it's just life. It's really not that serious.